Okay. Well, good afternoon.
Hello.
Oh, no, that was a disaster. Let's try that again. I have some great information for you, and I want to make sure you are ready and alert and ready to go. Good afternoon. Wait for it now. 1, 2, 3.
Good afternoon.
All right, much better. Wow. All right, so it's a pleasure to be here with you. Let's show by a show of hands, who here is looking after your elderly parent?
I am the elderly.
That was going to be the next question. Who here, whether you want to admit or not, is the elderly parent? Okay. So the intent of this afternoon is that you all walk out of here smarter than when you walked in when it comes to your personal finances for yourself or your elderly parents. Sound good? All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a story of a client who came in. Handheld better?
Can you trend to this side of the room?
I sure can. So what I'm going to do is share a story of who came in to see me, because I think this story you may or may not be able to relate to, and I think you'll all be able to take something away from them. And to protect the names of the innocent, I've changed their names around. So we're going to go ahead and call them Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson. So Goldie Hawn, of course, was the mother, and Kate Hudson was the that brought her mother in to see me. So, how does the handheld work? Better? We could do the handheld. Turn it on. Is this more steady? Let's go for the more steady audio. Who needs a fancy headset? All right. So, Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson, they come in to see me, and here's the setup. Goldie's husband, the late Kurt Russell, passed away, and she was widowed. And they just sold their marital home, which in itself was a win because the home was a hazard waiting to happen. Steps all the way up to the bedroom, steps all the way down to the basement where she was doing laundry. It was an accident waiting to happen. So at least they had the foresight to sell the home and move elsewhere. Now the question for Goldie was, where is she going to go? And she wasn't sure how much she could afford because, they had their savings that she and Russell had saved during their lifespans, but she didn't know how far it would get her. And sure, you can do some quick back of the envelope math and just say, well, here's the amount, here's the expected cost, let's divide it by 12 and see how much I can afford that way. But then you're leaving out inflation and investment performance as well. So I ran a rough calculation for them. And all in all, we came out with approximately $5,500 a month of some kind of care and overhead that Goldie could afford. Okay. Now, her face dropped when I said $5,500 because I could see she instantly thought, oh no, there goes Waterstone and Wellesley. Now, for those of you who didn't chuckle, do not tour Waterstone and Wellesley unless you're for certain you can afford it. It's like taking a Ferrari for a test drive. You're just going to be disappointed otherwise. So I knew that $5,500, yeah, it's not the number she wanted, but I knew in the back of my mind, they're probably underutilizing what they already have. And so I thought, let's dig a little deeper and let's see if we can get this number up for Goldie, okay? And so here's what we did. Here are the areas I looked into, and these are the areas I want you to be thinking about for yourself to determine how you can better utilize your money to serve a purpose to serve you and to keep you comfortable and a comfortable lifestyle and spend that will last you, because you don't want money running out, of course. So the first area that I looked at for them was Social Security. Now, I know you're thinking, Social Security, that's peanuts. Well, little pop quiz for you, okay? Pop quiz to make sure you're awake. Let's say, little pop quiz, Bob and Carol, another true couple, that's my aunt and uncle. Bob and Carol, let's say they are 66 and they're about to collect Social Security over a 20-year span. The maximum that Bob ever earned was $130,000 a year. How much over 20 years do you think from Social Security they'll be getting? Now, I'm going to give you 4 options and we'll take a hand, I'll take a poll and see who wins. Over a 20-year span, earning about $130,000 for Bob, and Carol earned around $80,000 her entire career. How much do you think cumulatively in total they'll collect over 20 years? I'll give you your options and then we'll take a vote. Is it A, $500,000, B, $750,000, C, $1 million, or D, over $1,250,000? Who thinks it's A? Raise your hand. Okay, we got a couple takers. Okay. Front row, second row. Okay, we got a maybe over here. Who thinks it's B, $750,000? Ooh, this looks like it's the winner. That's a majority of the room for B. Anybody for C, $1 million? When in doubt on the test, C for correct, right? No? Okay. No, but no takers. Okay, now what about D? A couple. This gentleman rose his hand right away. Well, the correct answer, Trebek would be proud of the man who raised his hand at the top. The correct answer is D. Over $1,250,000. Sir, you won the prize, $1 million gold bar. Don't try spending it all at once. And if you do, take us all with you. Okay, over $1,250,000. Now, I point that out because a lot of people think, oh, Social Security, that's peanuts. No. It is a critical part of your building block for your financial future. And a lot of it comes down to knowing how the system works. Okay, like anything else, you have to know how it works in order to strategize to your advantage. So let's go over some basics. When it comes to Social Security, of course, people say, okay, well, when it's Social Security, sure, will it even be there for me? Well, I'll tell you this. So many people rely on Social Security. I am not concerned that it's completely gone because too many Americans rely on that paycheck. And yes, I know there's the concern about the Social Security Trust Fund running out of money in about 11 years. However, even in a worst case scenario, there's still about 78% of what they promise you will get paid to you because the money they pay you is really from the younger generation working and paying into FICA. Okay? And the last time the trust fund was going to run out of money was in the 1980s when Reagan was president. And what they did is they just extended the age of collecting Social Security from 65 to somewhere between 66 or 67, depending on when you're born. So it's still valid that we talk about Social Security and plan for it. So if you were to collect, how does Social Security work here? If you were to collect as a single person at age, what's the soonest you can collect? Anybody know? 62, that's right. 62 is the soonest you could collect. Now, there are over 81 different ways to collect. I could tell you the exact year and month when you should collect if I knew how long you were going to live. Of course, we don't know that, but we can take a good, educated guess based off of our own health and our genetics, for better or worse. Okay? If no one in your family made it past their 70s and you're not in good health, I say, have the ice cream at lunch. Have that lobster roll, maybe 2, and take your Social Security right at 62 as soon as you can. However, if you're like most Americans, we're living into our mid-80s, and you're in average health, it actually makes sense for you to hold off financially until your full retirement age, somewhere between 65, if you're born before 1956, or if you're born from 1956 upward, your full retirement age where you get 100% of what they promise you, somewhere between 66 and 67. Okay? Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, but I mean, if you collect sooner, you collect a smaller amount, but you're collecting longer, doesn't that still make sense? How long do I have to live where I actually get a nickel up and over on the government. Follow my question? Well, the age you have to live until for it to have been the right decision for you to wait to collect your Social Security, at least until your full retirement age and not 62, is 79. It's not so bad. Now, the longest you can hold off to collect your Social Security, anybody know that age? The longest you can wait? 70. There's no benefit to waiting a day after you turn 70 or a month after your birthday date. Now, if you wait until 70, well, you're collecting for a shorter period, but the amount grows. Anybody know what amount the amount grows by each year you wait to collect your Social Security? Oof, you are just firing them off. I got to give you the next bar. Woohoo! $1 million. Well done. Did you hear what she said? Every year you hold off to collect your Social Security from your full retirement age up until 70, your Social Security amount increases by 8%. That's huge. That's quite the guaranteed by the government dollar amount increase in pay. Okay? So you're thinking, well, wait a second, but I'm getting this larger amount, but I'm holding off. How long do I have to live now if I wait until 70 to collect my Social Security benefit? The age is 81 versus collecting anytime sooner. If you wait until 70 and you live past 81, any year after that is just gravy on top. You're cumulatively collecting more out of the system. Kind of neat, right? Okay. So that's the basics for individuals. And let me touch some dollar signs, okay? At 62, you get a haircut. You're collecting about 70 to 75% of what you could have been collected had you waited. And if you collect at 62 versus waiting until your full retirement age, you're leaving about $150,000 on the table, assuming you live 20 years, that you're allowing the government to keep. Money that could be yours, it's your choice. Okay? Now, so 62, reduction, haircut, ouch. Or you wait till your full retirement age. Or you wait until 70 and you get that 8% every year you wait. So at 70, your benefit then is 124% or 132% of what you could be getting of what's promised you. And the dollar amount over, it's say a 20-year span, is about $200,000 extra in your pocket because you decided to wait. So in total, we're talking a $350,000 difference waiting to collect at 70 versus 62. And that's just for you, not including your spouse. So we're talking real money just for waiting. Bad to the bone. Bad. Very good. You're right on cue. So with that being said, that's how it works for individuals. Let me throw you some other scenarios so you know how Social Security works, whether this applies to you or maybe some friends, okay? Help enlighten them. What about if you're married? Are there any benefits to being married? In the eyes of Social Security. That didn't sound right. In the eyes of Social Security, of course. Are there any benefits? Yeah, in the back? Spousal benefits. Very good. Yes. So if you're married, you can either collect a benefit equal off of your own personal working history, like we just discussed. You decide when you choose to start to collect. Or you can collect an amount equal to half of your spouse's benefit at their full retirement age. Ooh. Now remember, the rules were created in the 1930s, okay, where women didn't work outside of the home. Things have changed now, and this is why, especially for women, when it comes to Social Security, you can really take advantage of how the rules are written, okay? So it's one or the other, okay? Or you can switch between the two if there's an age differential, okay? All right, next. Married, good. And how about, and depending also on the year you're born, you can switch between married to personal or personal to married. Depends on the year you're born, okay? The idea here is I give you broad strokes of how this works so you can start to ask questions where there may be some smoke, okay? How about if you're divorced? Any benefits to being divorced in the eyes of Social Security? Well, kinda. It works the same, assuming you were married for 10 years, divorced for 2. Social Security works the same way as if you're married. In fact, it's actually a little bit better, more easier, because you have the same options as if you were married. You collect a benefit based off of your own working history or half of your ex's. And the better part is that you don't have to wait for him or her to be collecting in order for you to receive that spousal benefit. Whereas when you're married, you have to wait for them to be collecting. Interesting, right? Yeah. Okay, and I know a thing or two about divorce. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst, so I'm often brought in to help people get better outcomes during divorce and then afterwards make sure they're in solid footing and figure out what next. Okay? How about multiple exes? Oh, question, yes.
Yes, and along those lines, does it differ because Social Security is federal? Does it differ from state to state?
It does. The question was, does Social Security differ from state to state? The answer is no. It is a federal program, does not matter. Where state benefits come into play is if you have a pension. And that's a whole nother ball game, and I'm happy to go over all of that, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move on. But if you have any questions on that, get back in touch with me, and I'll work you right through exactly how it works if you have a pension. In fact, you're all going to have an opportunity at the end of this to schedule a time, phone call, Zoom, in person, whatever, where we can delve into any one thing, or if you want a whole review on your finances, you have an opportunity to schedule that. Okay? All right. How about if you are widowed? Okay? Like Goldie Hawn. Well, the rules are virtually thrown out the window of what I just discussed. Because again, back in the 1930s, if a spouse passed away in war, it was detrimental to the finances of the mother and her children. And so, for widows, I would say 8 out of 10 times I'll find people extra money if they are widows. So pay attention if this is either you or a parent or an aunt or a friend. When it comes to Social Security, very likely there may be money that they are eligible to receive. In Goldie Hawn's scenario, I found her an extra $1,400 a month. She had no clue she was eligible to receive. The checks don't always magically appear in the mail. That's your government at work. It's Social Security Administration. So you have to apply, know what you are entitled to, and apply in a lot of cases. Some cases, the checks do show up, not always. Okay? So for widows, in short, you step into not 50% of what they were collecting, but 100% of what your either ex or non-ex spousal benefit was collecting. Okay, so 100%. And you can choose between your personal benefit and theirs. You can go back and forth between the two. And that's the beauty where I find extra money for people. Okay, so if you think either this applies to you or a friend, make sure we get in touch and see if we can find some extra money on the table. Okay, it's very likely where I find extra money for people. All right, how about multiple exes? Oh, and a neat thing about widows is, well, when it comes to the rules, what's interesting, you have to, if you're divorced, you have to wait 10 years. For a widow, anyone want to guess how long you need to be married in order to be eligible for this widow benefit?
1 year.
Less than a year. 9 months. After 9 months, you're eligible to collect 100% of what he or she is collecting when they pass away. It's the kind of stuff movies are made out of. Who says this stuff is boring? Okay, and how about multiple exes? It's 2022. It's very much a reality these days. Multiple exes, well, you simply choose whomever had the highest benefit and collect half. Okay? If it's higher than yours and you were married for 10 years in each. Okay? Now, if you were the breadwinner and I have all these ex-spouses collecting off of your back, relax, count to 3. It'll have no effect on you. You won't even know it. Okay? Interesting, right? Okay. Moving on. Other ways you could potentially just be sitting on money. One is insurance, okay? I view insurance oftentimes as an asset people are just sitting on and don't realize that it could potentially be a better utilized nest egg. And I'm a fan of using what you have, right? Like in the fridge, sometimes you need to just use what you have. Do you need to buy more your closet? Do you need to buy more clothes? Probably not. Just use what you have. So when it comes to insurance, does anybody here have, there's different types. There's term that runs off at a certain date. There's whole life that continues for your entire life. Anybody have whole life? Ooh, okay. And okay, I see some nods. And you probably know people who do, maybe your parents. It's usually nowadays it's not as common because the term is much more efficient. But for people who have those whole life or permanent life policies, there's potentially an opportunity for you to do something with it. And it's analogous to somebody who is paying, if I were paying a 7% more interest on my mortgage, what would you tell me? Refi, remortgage. Where the heck have you been, Nora? Have you been under a rock? Refi rates are so much lower. Same applies in the insurance industry because people are living longer. Okay, the actuarial tables have changed. And so what you could do is what we did for Goldie. So potentially. So for her, she had this whole life policy that had a death benefit of about $400,000. She hated paying the darn premiums because she's thinking, who am I even paying this for? My husband's gone. I'm not going to see any of this money. And as it turns out, she actually has her mother, she found out later in life, had Alzheimer's. So now in the back of her mind, she's thinking, I bought the wrong kind of insurance. I should have got long-term care. And I got this death benefit here. That's going to do me no good. So she's paying these premiums. She doesn't really care for this policy. And she's thinking, I bought the wrong kind of insurance. So here's what we did. We put it out to bid. And we had insurers bid on it. And the best person, I'll cut to the chase, the best policy came back and said, here's what we will give you. We will give you, in exchange for your current policy and the cash value in it, we will give you a policy with a death benefit of $600,000 instead of $400,000, to which she said, okay, good, but still wrong kind of insurance. And they said, it will be paid up so you don't have to pay any more premiums again. Ooh. So now, okay, bigger benefit, can save her a bill. Now her eyebrows perked up. And here's the better third piece. We're able to add on a rider that said, if you need that $600,000 for long-term care, you can tap into that $600,000 for long-term care. Ooh. Way more economical versus her buying a long-term care policy from scratch, especially at her age. Forget about it. Kind of neat, right? Okay, so again, I'm not trying to make you an expert. I just want you to be aware of these things. Okay, and we can talk it through later. Okay, very good. Okay, moving right along. We have a lot to cover. Next, what else did we look at? Well, we looked at her investments. Now, these are the lens I look at when it comes to investments, to stretch people's investments out as much as you can and better utilize it, okay, over time. So here are the lenses I look at that I want you to start looking at when it comes to your investments. I look at diversification, and I know everyone knows what diversification means, not too many eggs with one basket, but I tell you, so few people do it correctly. In fact, I had a couple come in the other day. It was kind of funny. The husband goes, oh, yeah, Nora, we're diversified. We got 5 funds. I said, oh, okay. I peeled back the onion on these funds. They're all the same stuff. And so, and of course, it was the stuff that did not perform that great more recently. Murphy's Law. So, I'm going to properly diversify, okay? So you have more steady, consistent, predictable returns over time. We don't want surprises, especially at a certain age and stage. You don't want surprises. You don't want to be thrown for a curveball. We don't know what the next headline will bring, okay? So you want to try to make your assets in a more steady, more predictable, more consistent manner. And the more diversified you are, the less up and down in general, and the less overall risk, okay? And when the market goes down, when you're diversified, you actually bounce back up faster, okay, than the rest of the market when you look at the past few recessions. Okay, the other thing I look at is the amount of risk. Oh boy. especially more recently. If in 2020 or in the past few months you opened your statement and thought, oh my gosh, you had heart palpitations, you are too risky. So when it comes to investments, think of it this way. There are two sides to investing. There's the safer investments, CDs and bonds. Finally, we're getting better interest rates, finally. That's the safer stuff. Think of that as your life jacket and the water that keeps you afloat. So as the waves come crashing down, that keeps you afloat, okay? And then there's the stock market portion, which is growth oriented, okay? And that's the piece that you want to have nicely diversified. And the more of the safer, the bigger your life jacket is, the safer overall you are. So at a certain point in life, it comes to a point where probably the prudent thing to do is to have a mind shift of being more protective, which should be accompanied by a change in your investments to be more protective, okay? Versus really allowing yourself exposed to the market. All right. And the other thing to look at is cost. A lot of people don't like to talk about that, but we absolutely should. Okay? Just like anything else, you should know exactly what you're paying. And when it comes to investments, it's a little harder because they don't come with a price tag on them. Okay? You have to do a little digging. And so whenever people bring in, typically they come in to see me and they are like, listen, I want a whole top down. Here's what I'm doing. What can I be doing better? And part of that is I go over, life and investments, and I look at cost and say, okay, well, here's what you're paying. Here's what you could be paying. And a lot of times I find layers of costs. This is what you want to avoid, okay? You don't want to be in lots of layers of costs. For example, when I looked at Goldie's stuff, she always said, Russell handled it. It was fine. It was not fine. They were paying a lot of money. They had their investor management cost, which was around 1.5%, which was high. 1% tends to be the more going rate these days. And then their mutual funds were also very pricey, almost over 2%. Very pricey. As a benchmark, my costs are all in around 1%, just so you can see the difference. And you might think, well, 1%, is that even that big of a difference? 1% over 20 years? Let's say you're getting average returns of around, let's say moderately invested. So 6%, we're talking $1 million difference. I'm sorry, not million, $400,000 difference. Still a big number, okay? So you might be in a position where you can lower your overhead, lower your costs so you keep more in your pocket. And that's what we did for Goldie. So when we were said and done, we were able to up her monthly expenses from being able to afford $5,500 to closer to $7,500. Okay, big swing in terms of what you could afford. Okay, so this is the kind of exercise that's really interesting to run for yourself or maybe your parents. Okay, and what I like to do is run all kinds of projections. You have one in your hands. I'm not going to belabor you with it. But the point of those kinds of projections is we can get really exact as to exactly how much you can afford given how much you have, how it's invested, your age, how much and we can back into how much you have to spend. Okay? If you're approaching retirement, I use the same kind of philosophy to figure out exactly how much you can afford and exactly when you can retire. It's the same idea. Okay? All right. So now that we're done with Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson, I'm going to leave you with my top 10 items that I recommend all elderly folks do when it comes to their finances, okay? So for the adult children, I want you to be thinking about doing this for your parents. If you are the elderly parent, I advise you do this for yourself, okay? So I'm going to give you my top 10. Starting from the top, I'm a big fan of these family inventory workbooks. They organize everything. They state who your advisor is, who your attorney is, who your doctors are. So in a case of an emergency, their contact information is right there, okay? And it's a crucial document to have, all your passwords. If you don't have something like this, email me and I will email you the one I give clients. Crucial to have because the more organized you are, the more prepared. And you just keep that document with all your other estate planning documents. Hopefully you all have a drawer somewhere that says, if something happens to me, open. Okay, good. 2, I'm a big fan of coordinating bill pay for monthly expenses. Fraud is running rampant. So I'm a big fan of having it automated so there's less fraud and reasons for things to go off the hinges. Plus, if someone is hospitalized, that way you make sure the lights and everything continues to get paid and stay on. 3, I'm a big fan of having duplicate copies sent to an adult child or trusted loved one. That way, again, it's just more oversight. So if you are, a parent of yours that's not quite, starting to not quite be as present as they used to be, it might be a good idea that you start getting copied in on those statements. Okay, we do that for clients of ours. Next, this is a good one. It's tax time. I always like copies of your tax documents. Duplicate copies be sent right to the accountant. Make it easy. I do this for my clients, so I know all financial advisors have the capacity to do this. Make it easy, okay? Make things foolproof. So have duplicate copies of your own tax documents or your parents be directly sent right to the accountant. Less runaround during tax season, and again, less chance for fraud. I add emergency contacts for all clients. So for your financial people in your world, have them add a emergency contact. There was a client of mine, he was always so responsive, and I hadn't heard from him. It was very strange. This was during COVID. And so I reached out to his daughter, who was listed as his emergency contact, and I said, hey, I haven't heard from your dad in a while. Is he okay? That was the first alert that cascaded to an event. He had fallen, and he was there for much longer than he ought to have been of. But it's an example that extra oversight, extra eyes, extra attention is a good thing, okay, as one ages. Next, it's good to have an adult child be added to a bank account. Usually for smaller bank accounts, they can be added to it so they can, again, if you're hospitalized, they can step in and just go ahead, pay bills, and make sure there's no issues, okay? Also, when some passes away, they can pay for those, ancillary costs. All right, next. Consolidating accounts. Oh, this is a biggie. I often see people with accounts everywhere, and it's really unnecessary. If you had multiple employers, you've got 401ks everywhere or IRA rollovers everywhere, it's really unnecessary. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Okay, you want to kiss it. You want to simplify your life. And so consolidating into one IRA. There's no reason to have multiple IRAs. Each individual should have one individual retirement account that all of your 401ks or employer benefit plans go into. Keeps things simpler. Plus, when it comes to when you're 72 and have to take out your required minimum distributions, it just keeps things easier to calculate. Okay. 8. This is an interesting one. College. A lot of us want our inheritance, our legacy, to pay for our grandchildren's college, to help with it at least. Not me, someone said. Maybe not, but a lot of people do. And so an interesting way you can do it now, where you get the thank yous, is, and it will benefit you, because what you can do is actually give 5 years worth into these college funds all at once. So you can gift up to $16,000 per year without filing a gift tax form. And you can do that times 5, so that's $80,000 per grandparent to each grandchild. So between grandma and grandpa, you can actually gift $160,000, boom, all at once to each grandchild, which forward funds their education. And for you, the financial benefit for you, the soft benefit is you hear the thank you, but the financial benefit to you is you start to remove assets from your estate. Okay, which brings me to the next point. You want to get your estate planning mapped out, from now. In Massachusetts, we have $1 million credit we all are entitled to. Okay, that $1 million includes the value of your home, insurance, investment accounts. And these days, it's not that hard to get over $1 million. Okay. When we say millionaire, it doesn't sound like someone with that much money anymore, does it? So by having a trust document in place, for example, you can utilize your $1 million credit and your spouse's $1 million credit and thereby shelter $2 million from being exposed to estate taxes. And so a challenge many people have is staying under that $2 million mark, because they don't want to end up paying those estate taxes. They want to keep more money in the family and not pay excessive taxes. So they'll say to themselves, well, we want a lot of this money to go to the grandkids anyways. We want it to fund college. So let's do the gifting now. And it removes it from your estate. Kind of a neat advanced strategy. All right, next. Let's see. Okay, here's a mistake I see. I'm going to end with this one, is when it comes to gifting property. I see people gifting property left and right because, again, they want to get that estate down or whatever reason. Be careful not to fall into this mistake, because often, and you want to consult with your accountant, of course, and your estate attorney, but oftentimes it's better for a loved one to inherit property than be gifted it. Okay? Not because you want to force them to be nice to you to the very end, but because when they inherit the assets, they will get a step up in the cost basis from your date of death. Versus if you gift it, for example, we all know there's people who bought a property for under 100 grand. Who here bought a property for under 100 grand in their lifetime? Exactly, before inflation, right? The last wave of inflation. And so if you're gifted that property, let's say it was purchased for 50 grand, mom and dad gift it to you for $1. Well, now your cost basis is their cost basis. They gifted you their cost basis as well. So when you turn around and sell that property, let's say the cost basis was 50 grand, and now it's worth $1 million and you go to sell it, you're going to have to pay taxes on all of that profit. Ouch. Ouch. Versus if it's inherited, you inherit the new step up of cost basis. So if the value of the home when they pass away was $1 million, your cost basis jumps from 50 to that $1 million. And so then when you go to sell it, you'll have minimal amount of profit that you'll pay taxes on. Make sense? Okay. All right. So
My mother passed away 4 years ago.
Yeah.
My father had put a living estate to my mother and I.
Yeah.
And because it signed over with my mother's death, I didn't have to pay anything on. I didn't have to pay because otherwise I would have had to pay the difference between what he paid for the house.
Yes.
Which was like $16,000 and $400,000 that I sold it for, minus whatever
Yep.
improvements, but it would have been an incredible amount.
Oh, yeah. Perfect example. Thank you. So that's someone who shared her story of a similar experience of seeing that huge cost savings realized. So big step to recognize. So I threw a lot at you. I'm going to stop there. I want to open things up if we have time for some questions. And I will say, I want to reiterate, there is a sheet there. You can schedule a complimentary time. I offer this at all people I present to. I know you may not want to air all your personal finances in a room of strangers. I totally get it. So this is a chance where we can sit down, phone call, Zoom, in person, whatever you prefer. We'll have a private one-on-one session. You can ask me anything you want. Let's keep it finance related. So personal finance, investing, if you want a whole top-down review, if you want to go over anything I might have mentioned, we can do that. The top-down reviews, I'd say, probably the most popular, where people send me their stuff in advance. I run an initial analysis, and then we have a really constructive meeting. And it's complimentary. So usually in those sessions, I can answer just about most, if not all, questions in that session. And again, due to the Council on Aging, it's complimentary. So if I can help out, great. So what I ask is that everyone flips out this sheet here. Thank you. This sheet here, it's in your handout. I'm going to make this easy. And everyone should fill this out because it's twofold. One, it's a feedback form. So let me know how I did and see if this was helpful for you. And two, there's my schedule there. So you can circle a date that isn't crossed off. Circle a date, write in a time that works for you, and I'll do my best to accommodate, and I'll get back in touch with you for your one-on-one session. Okay? And then I want you to pass these. Everyone should be filling it out because it's feedback. And this is going to be your ticket into the door prize raffle. Yay! Little prize. Okay, so everyone fill this out. If you don't have a pen, let me know. Plenty of pens. And when I'm not making these presentations, by the way, what I do is I help people. They hire me as their financial advisor, and they hire me to help them make smarter decisions as they're growing their assets, as they're living off of it, as they want it to be inherited to the next generation. I help them make better decisions along the way. And we meet annual, like a doctor's physical at the doctor. We do a financial check-in on you. Okay? Question?
Yes,
Yes, I have a pen. Yep.
I have something that I'd like to ask you in reference to the.
You can just pass these around. Grab one from there and pass it around. Help you with it. Anybody else need a pen? Pass that down if you would. Yes. So your name and info at the top. Circle how I did. And then if you want to schedule that time, just circle and write in a date so we can minimize the back and forth. Just tell me what works for you, and I'll try to accommodate. I do. Did you take notes on it? Yeah. Happens a lot.
My question is.
Yes.
In regards to gifting as opposed to inheriting.
Yes.
What about a collection, a large collection that is going to be either gifted or inherited? And I'd say inherited, but you
And
can't afford to have the.
can pass those back in there. Thank you. I'm listening.
For the collection to be assessed, because it would be too costly. And when you want to pass it down, how do you give it a fair value without a?
Assessor. Yeah, there needs to be an appraisal at some point, is the short answer. The appraisal has to happen so we can attribute some value. No, you don't need to. Nobody else is looking in there. So the short answer is you need to get an appraisal. The question was, what about if you have a collection? And so I could put that right in here. Did you have a pen? Yeah, I am Lebanese. We look like each other, don't we? Yeah, I grew up in Walpole too. Yeah, I grew up in Walpole, was here through Fisher School and then Johnson Middle School. Yeah. And my parents grew up in Walpole. They came from Lebanon, yeah. Catholic Lebanese. I can run it for you. Ooh, sorry. I would run it for you, and I'll let you know what the results are. Sure. Yes. So circle a time and even write on there insurance, so I'll know it's insurance related. Yeah. But yeah, I can. Okay. Some did, some didn't. I didn't want to get too into the mud about it, but in some cases it did, in other cases it did not. Okay. Well, we'll dig in. If there's something to be found, we'll find it.
No, I'm not looking for anything. I have to still work.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, please. Yes. Better to schedule just so that way we have something. But yes. Ooh. Sure. Yes, I'm coming over. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it depends if it's a public or private pension. I will tell you, because I've done enough of them, I know. So just when we have our one-on-one, I can tell you all about it. Yep, great question. Yeah, if we had more time, I would get into that. Oh, no, it's complimentary. No cost. Nope. Okay. Okay. We'll try. Okay. Yeah, it's complimentary. Sure. Okay. Coming along with the bag here. And we're going to pull the raffle, so stick around for the raffle. Yes, yes. Good. I'm going to answer that at the front, actually. Yes, thank you. Yep. Okay, just going to drop. The question was asked, well, how do I get paid? So how I'm compensated is fee-based. So it's generally 1% of what's being managed, so pretty standard. Once the assets are over 3 million, it drops down to 0.85. So we're very competitive in terms of cost. No commissions. Yeah. And we use low-cost investments. Great question. Thank you. Okay. Any others? I see more people filling them out. I'll give you another minute, and then we're going to pull for the raffle. And the raffle's a good one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Excellent questions, by the way. And again, this is a complimentary consultation. Someone asked how much. I don't charge for these. Oh, no. Someone asked back there. Okay. Thank you. It's a thick paper. It's just one, yeah. There you go. Can I get you? Okay. All right, sure. There you go. A hand, yes. State pension. Okay, let's talk about the state pension. If I had more time, I'd get all into it. I sometimes do separate sessions just on Social Security and pensions. Yeah, do you already submitted? Okay, perfect. So we'll talk about it. Yeah, because it's a whole another ball game. Yep. Okay, any others? I'm going to pull the raffle before people leave. Okay. Time to pull the raffle. Who's going to pull it? You know, I liked your enthusiasm at the top. So you were going to pull our winner. Pull one sheet of paper. Pick a good one. Make it good. Okay. The winner is Janet Fasanello. Woohoo! All right, Janet. All right. Well, you won a pretty cool prize.
It's a car. Oh, it's a brand new
Yeah. This is Oprah. You didn't know? Okay. So if you like to open and share, it's heavy. It's heavy. There's 4 items in there.
A key to your house. Very small house.
Ooh. Hand soap, because COVID, we got to stay clean, everyone. Warm vanilla, Bath and Body Works, premium. Ooh. Woohoo! You're so welcome, Janet. All right, well, that's a wrap, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one.